too. That one really messed up. Um, this video is about the last days and what Jesus said was going to happen, knowledge increasing. And, okay, I'm going to start off by saying, if you know about the Shroud of Turin, I'm pretty sure that the blood was AB positive. AB positive. And he said knowledge would increase in these last days, right? Well, the scientists and the doctors have figured out a way to give AB, anybody with positive blood. Wait, scratch that. Negative blood, a woman. If it's a woman with negative blood, they figured out a way to give her a shot, and it's called the RhoGAM shot. Okay? Women with negative blood can only, it's just a fact, they can only have one positive child, and everybody else born from her has to be negative. If anybody is born from a negative mother after she bears a positive blooded child, they'll die. And the name of that child is called a blue baby. Just look up blue baby on Google, or RhoGAM shot. I think it's RHOGROM. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I know personally because I am a positive blooded person who was born from a negative blooded mother, and there's a lot of strife in that. I mean, it's just a fact of nature. So, scientists and doctors have figured out, why are all these babies dying from these women, 200 years ago or 100 years ago. They figured out it's the mother can't deal with it. Her blood can't deal with a positive blooded child. The child pays for it. The child dies at birth. That's why they call them blue babies. Something happens with the oxygen or something in the blood. So my mother, she gave birth to two brothers of mine, and one was a negative and one was a positive before me. And then years later, I was born and I was a positive. So in nature, I should have never ended up on this earth talking to you right now. Zero. I wouldn't have been here. But the doctors and the scientists figured, if we give the mother a shot, which is called a RhoGAM shot, so if she ever bears and births any more positive blooded children, then the child will live. So that's what's happening in these last days. There's too many people like me. There wasn't a bunch of positive people. I'm not saying I'm positive. I'm very cynical, but and it's not my fault. But 200, 500 years ago, there weren't people like me in the world. Most, it was more even. It was like so many negative blooded, so many positive blooded. Well, now there's a whole fucking lot more positive blooded people. And it just doesn't mix. It makes for strife. Not only in, the playground or the schools or in Congress or even in the families, My family was pretty fucked up. And everything was my fault. It was my fault, right? So if you're a positive blooded person, you need to look into You know, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we were born positive blooded. And that doesn't mean we're better than anybody else. That doesn't mean we have more than anybody else. It just means our blood is different. And so when Jesus said, you know, in the last days, you know, knowledge will be increased. Well, yeah, it's increased, but am I sorry I was born into this bullshit? You know, 500 years ago, I would have died at birth. And probably a lot of people are saying, yeah, I wish you would, bitch. But that's just knowledge being increased, you know. We don't fit. There's too many of us. There's too many positive-blooded people in the world. And so, you know, if you have a friend or family that will help, you know, get this message out, you know, maybe they can check into it and do some statistics, because I think it's really important, you know, to do a study, an analysis about this, you know. And like I said, this is take 2, so if I've forgotten something, but you know, the negative blooded mother, you know, in nature, people like me aren't supposed to even live. There's too many of us. And, you know, so if you feel like you're being treated wrong in your family, well, you know, check into it. Because that might be the reason. So again, you know, we have to step aside, be by ourselves, and it just brings you closer to Jesus. But I think that's all I have to say about this point.